What is social work really about? We don't just take children away, except the risk is high and safeguarding has to be done immediately. After a few years of working as a social worker, I can confidently say that we work alongside children, teenagers, their families, adults, and other members of the family to manage crisis. Taking away children is probably one of the most painful misunderstanding about our profession, because real social work is so much more than that. It's sitting with a mother who feels she's failing. It's listening to a teenager who feels misunderstood and has stopped trusting adults. It's helping families to survive trauma, poverty, addiction, grave violence, and even emotional pain that they can't manage on their own without external intervention like social services. Sometimes social work is about being the only person who is willing to ask difficult questions when a child feels unsafe and there is need for safeguarding. Today, I want us to have a real conversation about what social work is, why people misunderstand us, and what social workers truly do behind closed doors every single day of our job. Because no day is the same in social work. People often meet social workers during crisis, not when the going is good, when emotions are high, when families are feeling overwhelmed, when safeguarding concerns actually exist. People rarely see sometimes years of support that happens quietly in the background before situations actually escalate. In fact, people don't usually see the early intervention work that happens. They don't see social workers helping parents to access benefits, to access even housing support. When we support teenagers who are struggling with school refusal or criminal exploitation, sexual exploitation, they don't see the background work that goes on there. And when we're helping parents to rebuild relationship with their children, with other members of their family, instead what often becomes visible is the final stage when the risk has escalated and it becomes too high to ignore. And because of that, many would assume that social workers are there to punish families and parents rather than to support them. Let me give you one example of this misunderstanding. I was working with a single mother of 3 children who had additional need, and the other 2 did not. They showed signs, but they didn't have official diagnosis from a GP. The mom was struggling financially and emotionally. When I met her, she was defensive and very angry. She said to me one day, "You're here to remove the children, aren't you?" At that moment, honestly, my heart broke because she truly believed nobody could help her. She's been failed a lot of times. Over time, we worked together to access practical support, connecting her with parenting support services, housing support. Together, we developed a routine for the children to help them thrive, because without routine, children do not do very well. We spoke honestly about the stress of single parenthood and the emotional regulations. After a few months, we were having a discussion, and then she said, "You were the first person who actually listened to me instead of coming into my home to judge me of what's happening." And that is social work. Social work is all about relationships. For me, social work is about human relationships. It's about dignity, protection, and hope. It's about understanding people's lived experiences in the context of their lives. In social work, we understand that a child's behavior does not exist in isolation. It exists from their lived experiences, their environment, parenting, family, the neighborhood they grew up in, the school, other children they associate with. When we see a child, we're seeing you based on all of these other factors. Sometimes behind a child's aggression is an untold trauma that is waiting to burst. Parental anger is shame or fear. Social workers are trained to look deeper, not just the surface. We assess risk, but we also assess strength. We ask, what happened to this person? What support exists? What is the family struggling with? What does the child need emotionally? What changes are necessary for safety and stability? And contrary to popular belief, most social workers desperately want families to stay safely together whenever possible. In my current role, we try as much as we can to prevent family breakdown rather than removal, because we understand how important attachment, belonging, and connection are for children. The primary security of a child always has to be the family. I once worked with a young boy who had become aggressive at home, up to the point of hitting his parents. Neighbors described him as out of control. his mother was physically exhausted from fighting and restraining. At the point I met him, he had changed 3 schools, and they were all feeling exhausted. They didn't have a good report about the child. But we slowed down and listened to him. We discovered something deeper. He was grieving. His father had left suddenly, and nobody helped him process that loss. His anger was actual pain that was untold. We got to the point where he felt safe enough to talk to us. Nobody could unravel what was going on. Over time, through therapeutic support, family conversations, and consistency, things slowly improved for him and his family. That experience reminded me again that behavior is communication, and social work often means learning to hear what people say directly. I want to be honest, at this point, social work can be emotionally heavy. If you've watched my previous video, I always talk about the emotional toll social work can have on workers, as well as the families we work with. There are moments when we carry enormous responsibility. Times we have to make difficult decisions to protect children from harm. And yes, sometimes children do need alternative care. That's, of course, when every effort to reduce the risk has failed. Those decisions are not casual. Importantly, are not even made by the social workers. They're made by a lot of supervisors, team management after they've assessed all the risk involved. No ethical social worker celebrates family separation. We would rather encourage families to remain together. Those moments are heartbreaking and complex, but safeguarding children matters deeply to all of us. And sometimes protecting a child means making incredibly painful decisions. In my experience, good social workers are not the people who think they know everything. They are the people willing to stay curious, the people who listen carefully, the people who reflect honestly, and the people who can hold compassion and accountability at all times. Good social workers understand boundaries, they understand trauma, they understand that people need dignity even during crisis. And most importantly, they never forget the humanity of the people they work with. One thing I want you to take out of this conversation is that social workers will not just wake up and think of destroying a family, not yours, not your friends, no one's family. Most of us enter this profession because we care deeply about people. We believe children deserve safety, families deserve support. People can heal, grow, and change if given the time and the right support to do that. Social work is not about judgment. It's about protection, advocacy, resilience, and human connection. Sometimes simply being the person who stays when everyone else walks away is what social work is to me. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you in the next video. I would love to hear your thoughts about social work, what you thought before, and what you actually think now after sitting in this conversation for this long. Thank you. I hope to see you again.